On page 280, we have a question about Catherine and her apples and pears. So let's look at that. Okay, Catherine bought apples and pears for a school picnic. The total number of pieces of fruit that she bought was less than 100. She bought more apples than pears. Okay, in number 8, they tell me that they want us to write a system. So we're going to be writing 2 different inequalities for this. And what do they tell us that we need to do about our variables?
List them out. Yeah.
And X will be what?
The number of apples.
Apples. Okay, so write this down. And Y is pears.
Y is pears.
All right, so we have X is going to represent apples and Y will represent pears. Now, I wrote too big, so I'm going to have to go over to the next page for the actual inequality. So, we're going to take our information one sentence at a time in the original problem that they give us, and they tell us in the first sentence that the total number of pieces of fruit that she bought was less than 100. So, I'm going to start at the back. So, what's going to be on this side of the inequality sign? What's going to be on the right of the inequality? 100, yes. Okay, we know that we have 100 in our problem. We're going to put it there because that's a good place for it. So now, what did they say? That the total number that she bought was less than 100. So what sign am I going to use? Less than. Boom. There it is. Okay, less than 100. Now we have to figure out what it is that's less than 100. It says the total number of fruit that she bought was less than 100. So
Y plus X.
X plus Y. Very good. Y plus X is fine as well, but this works out like what we normally do. Okay, so we have now written the first inequality. The second one is going to be a little more basic because it tells us that she bought more apples than pears. So what is apples? X. And well, let's do this. Let's put the Y on this side because that's what we're used to. So if we put Y on this side and we put X on that side, what sign are we going to use? Less than. Because she had more apples than she did pears. Okay, so now we have written that system. So that is our system of inequalities. Okay, so we've done what they've asked in number 8. We've written that system of inequalities. Number 9, they're going to ask us to graph that system of inequalities. So we're going to have to go over to the side on our graph paper. I'm going to just use the big squares. And we're going to draw a graph. Okay, so now, this is not going to have negative numbers, correct?
Correct.
Okay, it doesn't have negatives because you can't have negative apples and pears when you go to the grocery store. Cannot buy negative fruit. So we're going to just use the first quadrant because this is a real world problem.
Coupons.
Well, yeah, but that's not negative fruit. That's just negative money. And that's always a good thing. Saving money at the grocery. Okay, so I'm going to label my graph by tens. Okay, and so every little mark, every square is going to be 10. So, okay, so there we go. So we have our graph labeled. So over on the side where we have our blocks, let's label that graph. Let's graph. Our first equation says, I'm going to start with this easy one right here. Y is less than X, okay? So if I have Y is less than X, what is my Y-intercept? Y-intercept is what? Number?
1.
If there's nothing there, it is 0. Remember, when there's nothing there, the Y-intercept is 0. So we're going to go to the next page. We're going to start on 0. And I'm going to go up by 1. Okay, and that is a line that is solid or dotted? Dotted. Okay. Dotted line. There we go. Dotted dash, whatever you want to call it. All right, so there is our first equation. That's Y is less than X. Okay, our next equation is going to require a little bit more attention.
Wait, oh. All this.
Okay, let's look at our second line. Let's go back. And we're going to look at this line right here. The, The x plus y is less than 100. Okay, we have to get that into slope-intercept form. So when I do that, what am I going to have to do first?
Move the X.
Move the x. So subtract x from both sides. As luck would have it, I am done. I did not need, just wrote the wrong thing down. I do not need to flip the sign because I didn't divide by a negative. And I don't need to divide anything, which is always a good thing. Okay, so there's my other equation.
I'm scared of dragonflies.
All right, so now we're going to go to the next page and graph. Does everybody have this?
Yes.
Okay, so we can go to the next page. All right, so it started at 100. So we're going to start way up here. Pretend like that's 100. And then you're going to go, we have a slope of -1. So, oops. Hang on. Okay, so -1. Here goes that.
It's also dotted.
It is also dotted. Okay. All right. So now, it is an X. It's a very nice X. Now it's time for our shading. So let's look at that first equation that we shaded, that we graphed. That would be y is less than x. So where am I going to shade that line?
On the bottom.
Below. Okay, so y is less than x. I'm going to shade down here. Okay. All right, so all of this is shaded. I kind of got carried away with my dots on that one. Okay, so on the next line, we have y is less than -x plus 100. So where are we going to shade there? Underneath again. Okay, so there we go. Oh, look what I found. It is a double shade.
Shit, no.
I did. Oh, rats. I am. I got carried away with that. That's below, right? Okay. I'm sorry. I was looking at the other one. All right. Pretend like that's not happening. It went away. Nobody ever saw that. Okay. So, we have our double shaded area, which I'm going to make a different color so we can all see it. Be quiet. Shh. Okay, so here's our double shaded area. And fun fact, those are Mardi Gras colors. So there's that. Happy accident. Okay, so here's our double shaded area. This is where our answer is going to live. Everybody agree with that?
Yes, ma'am.
So now the one thing we need to discuss is this. Is every answer in this shaded area
Yes.
an answer? Could that be a solution for our apples and pears?
Yes.
Okay, so if I tell you that she went to the store and bought 1.5 apples and 2.5 pears, is that a legitimate answer?
No, because you can't buy half.
You can't buy a half, okay? If I told you that she went to the store and bought 1 1/4 apple, also not a legitimate answer. So since this is a real world problem, what are the only types of answers that are going to work for us here? Whole numbers. We're going to go ahead and say whole numbers because that doesn't include negatives because we've already ruled those out. So any whole number that lives in this shaded area right here is an answer, a legitimate answer to our question. Now, if we had some other type of an answer and it wasn't an apple and pears question, then we might be okay with fractions and decimals.